All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jigna Patel, and I'm a project coordinator with E4Texas. I've been with E4Texas since it started back in 2018. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing and how things are moving forward during this pandemic. And just a little bit more about me. I am an Asian Indian. I have a little past shoulder length black hair. I am sitting in my room in front of a blue wall and a painting with some blue and pink specks. And I'm going to review a little bit about what we will be talking about today. First, I'll give you a really great overview of what E4Texas actually is, what we've been doing, what the semesters look like, what the process is to get in. I'll talk about some of our community partners. I'll have a little break at 6:30 just to catch my breath and to be able to go in and look at some of your questions and chats, which I'll talk about here in a second as well. And then I will open the floor up to answer some of the questions that you might have in the chat box or in the chat box or the Q&A box. Let me get into that a little bit more. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that this meeting is being recorded. So just keep that in mind. And then you should see in this webinar Zoom function that there are two ways that you can participate in this session. You can either type questions in the Q&A box, or you can leave a comment in the chat box. There's two options there. Another thing I think I saw Lisa Jackson do is raise hand. So that option you can definitely use when we come back from the break. I can unmute you if you prefer to speak out loud and ask a question that way. So that's just a little heads up. Please feel free to use the chat box to say hello. Please put your questions that you might have throughout the presentation into the Q&A box so that I can come back to that during the second half of the presentation. All right, so just also for you all to know, while I am presenting, I'm not going to be monitoring the chat or the QA. So if something comes up, I'll definitely look at it during the break and address it at that point. Great. I just want to make sure that you all can hear me. So I will open up the chat one more time. Oh, got it. Thank you, Randall. It sounds like everyone can hear me. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, so what is E4Texas? E4 is a university based. We are at UT Austin, and we are employment focused. We're really working on making sure students are thinking very critically about their career path. And so it's for students with and without disabilities, but most of our students identify as those with intellectual and developmental disabilities and other diagnoses. But besides that, we are really training for specific career areas that might be around being a personal care attendant, a child care provider, or a prepare professional, which is a teacher assistant. These are our three main tracks. Most students are focusing on two out of those three. Some students decide to take all three because there is tons of overlap, but it is up to students to kind of pick out which of those two they are most interested in to learn that curriculum. So E4Texas, this is from summer 2019. So pre-COVID, you could see us, this is the first day of class, very excited to be in the classroom, ready to rock and roll. Of course, this is this year. Things look a little bit different. We are virtual. We are now starting to do a little bit more of a hybrid model where we're meeting in person 3 days out of the week and 3 days out of the week, and 2 days out of the week are online. But it's important to keep in mind that many professors and UT faculty are continuing to do things remotely, even though we at E4, our small group or cohort, we like to meet in person more often. But the general university is still very much online, which means there's just fewer people on campus. And the campus does have more strict guidelines as to, wearing a mask while you're out, not eating in the classroom, uh, maintaining distance when you are in the classroom, and checking your temperature and things like that when you walk into buildings. And you'll see hand sanitizing stations, and there's many things put in place to ensure the safety of students that are on campus. So there are definitely lots of changes, and um, it's hard for me to know this July, when we start a new round, if the situation will be similar or if things will have changed by then. But I think for the most part, based on my best guess, it will look very similar to what we are doing now, which is this hybrid model of being in person a few days out of the week, and also having an online option for students that maybe don't feel as comfortable being in person, or that prefer to still continue to live at home for extended periods of times if things are going on. For example, during the winter storm, a lot of students were at home and communicating with us through their home. So one great thing about this virtual world is we've really learned to adapt and make sure that we are still communicating with each other and really still learning, even when folks are at home for many different reasons. So we are learning to adapt, and students have been really resilient throughout the process as well. So what our semesters look like is we will begin in the summer, usually right after 4th of July. So what that looks like this year is, I believe July 4th is on a Sunday. So that weekend, July 3rd and 4th, is usually when a lot of students start moving into their dorms. And then we have a 4-week July summer session. So the summer, I'll talk about some more in detail, and same with the other semesters, but that's between July and August, beginning of August, we'll have our summer session. Then there'll be a little bit of a break throughout August, and then fall will start in September, usually the 3rd week of September, on that Tuesday following Memorial Day. So September, and we follow the UT schedule for, especially for the fall and spring semesters. So whatever the dates are for students that are at UT for the fall semester, that's what we typically like to follow. Of course, there's special circumstances, like this past year, for example, we made our fall semester a little bit longer because we knew that there might be a bit of a learning curve with going virtual, because we started the semester in fall this year. So there are chances that things might change, but this is what we are hoping to do for this upcoming 2021-2022 year. And then the fall semester usually ends the 1st week of December, and we'll start up again in spring, usually the first Tuesday after MLK Day. So that's when spring of 2022 will start, and it goes on until May, usually the 1st week of May. And again, we're following the same winter break schedule in fall and spring break schedule in spring as UT students. And of course, we'll have a little certificate ceremony in May to go with the end of the class. And that's always a great celebration that we like to have. So what does summer look like? So as I mentioned, summer is that 4-week period in July, throughout the month of July. And it's really a time for students to kind of feel the waters of living independently on campus, having a roommate, managing their time, navigating the campus. We're learning a lot about self-determination skills and self-advocacy skills. We're talking a lot about disability history and legislative advocacy. Students go to the Capitol. I think there's a picture of that in the next slide. And of course, students must pass summer to move forward in E4. It's like a really good way for us to determine how much support students need, and making sure that we have supports in place to make sure all of our students are successful. So far in my 3 years, all students have passed summer and have been invited to continue on. So we're really there to make sure that students feel comfortable, safe, and will be successful for the rest of the program. Yes, so the pictures are here. So here on the left side, you'll see students at the Capitol. They are testifying here for bills that they were very passionate about alongside their peers at a mock hearing. So it's a little unsure what that might look like this year. It might be a virtual hearing. Things might be more safe to do that in person. Um, and then you can also see students here on the right at the bus stop. We're learning how to navigate the bus. And what that's looking like this year is that we are doing much smaller groups of students taking the bus together. So usually our group of students is somewhere between 8 to 11 students, but when we are working with COVID procedures, what we're doing is breaking students up into smaller groups, and uh, like having a group one that's doing this activity Thursday morning, and then group two that's doing that same activity on the Thursday afternoon, just to break students apart, reduce exposure, and for staff to also be safe as well. So that is summer, a little bit about summer. In fall, there's a lot going on in fall. So students are taking classes at UT Austin on campus and meeting with our community partner organizations. So typically what this looks like is that students get to choose from a menu or option of about 6 to 8 different classes that UT faculty are teaching. Um, so they are going to be auditing classes with their peers on campus. Of course, this year it looked a little different because all of the classes are online, but that's really something that's really exciting that we are encouraging students to do, to get a feel for what it's like to be taking classes with everyone else that's taking classes there on campus. In addition to that, though, we are also doing specific courses that are around the personal care attendant field, the child care provider field, and the paraprofessional classes. So in addition to auditing regular UT classes, there's also these very customized, individualized curriculum from the university or other really great resources that are uh, ingrained in the fall semester. On top of that, there's going to be some classroom instruction with practical career building experiences and off-campus volunteer opportunities with those community partner organizations. So, like I mentioned, things looked a little different this past year, and they may continue to look different this upcoming fall. What that means is instead of us physically going to community partner organizations, we've had the community partner organizations come to us and hop online and talk about their organizations, ways that we can be getting involved with them in the current uh, situation. And I think that's evolving. So that will be great to see how we can participate with those community partner organizations this upcoming year. We are still very much involved with our community and are finding creative ways to build our network for our students and come up with innovative ways to stay engaged. Other career building experiences, that's referring really to preparing for these roles as a personal care attendant, child care provider, paraprofessionals. The volunteer opportunities align very closely with that. And so the volunteer opportunities are really preparing students for the internship, which will happen in spring. So as I mentioned, students are required to audit regular university classes with UT faculty. The way that works is, like I mentioned, we'll have a bio of each professor, the class they're teaching, the time of day it is, And we'll also be pairing each student with a support person to help them navigate the classroom, navigate Canvas, which is like the online learning platform that all UT faculty use. Um, some professors even have students within the class that are paired with the student ahead of time. That might be the TA or another uh, student in the classroom that the teacher feels would be a great fit for the students. And then once the students decide which class they want to take, we have a one-on-one meeting with students and the faculty to determine if there are any specific accommodations or modification that the student might need through a learning contract. And of course, we'll talk more about that during the fall semester itself and even bring it up in the summer semester to prep students. In addition to those regular UT classes that students will be taking, we will also have Dr. Nick Winges-Yagnes be speaking about the healthy relationships class that she teaches. It is an awesome class. It's really helpful to talk more in depth about communication skills, how to have a healthy relationship with a significant other, consent, pregnancy, birth control, LGBTQIA+, and just an array of really important topics. She was really an expert in the field and brings a lot of value with that information to our students during class. In addition to that class, there is a person-centered planning training course with certified trainers. Person-centered practice and planning is a very well-known course that is taught with trainers that happen to be E4 students. There was one E4 student that went through the training and now is also teaching that course. But it's a really great way to determine goal setting and advocating for yourself. So we're really lucky to have that be ingrained in our program as well. So the spring semester, this is when things become less about being in the classroom and more about being in the community. So students are participating in their internship sites in the community, and they are taking classes with E4 on Mondays and Fridays. So in the beginning of the week, we meet, we talk about all the great things that are happening that week, and we'll talk about maybe some of the challenges and obstacles students are facing and really work together to solve some of those things. Our social work interns are also speaking on Mondays to talk about maybe some skills around self-care or time management, creating boundaries, and different really exciting topics that are very important for this time during the spring semester. And then on Fridays, we are kind of troubleshooting or talking specifically about maybe some things that are happening in the field that we need more work doing. So it's kind of like a one-on-one support time, but also we have even more great guest speakers speaking to our students. For example, we have St. David's Adaptive Driving Program. So those are occupational therapists that are coming in to talk about whether or not students should consider learning how to drive. We have UT law students talking about supported decision-making. We have Social Security benefits counselor coming in to talk to students about how their Social Security benefits might change if they start working and how to navigate that. So there's just tons of more speakers and networking opportunities that happen throughout spring. And of course, after successful completion of all 3 semesters, students receive a certificate of completion from the Texas Center for Disability Studies at UT Austin. And we have that great ceremony at the end of the semester in spring. So throughout the course, mainly in fall and spring, we're going to be working towards a lot of different certificates. We'll be doing the food handler certificate through Serve Safe. This is important because many childcare facilities and Memory care facilities require that to help hand out food during snack time and lunchtime. So we like to have that as a really good certificate to add to our resume. We do CPR, AED, and first aid training. That again is important during childcare facilities and other places as well. We'll have students get person-centered practices, so they'll have that certification of completing that training. There's a food allergy training course that we do to address anaphylaxis and how to use an EpiPen. Conscious discipline is a great tool in childcare that we have. And conscious discipline and CLI Engage are both from the Child Development Center at UT Austin. So the students at UT that are learning to become early childhood professionals, um, we use that same curriculum that they are learning at the UT Child Development Center, which is a child care center for all UT faculty and staff to have their kids be at that daycare. So all the training that the staff that apply to go to that the development center, we have that same training at E4, and many times the staff from UT Development Center come in and speak about conscious discipline and CLI Engage, and they also provide that CPR, AED, and first aid training. And of course, they also recruit a lot of our students as interns and then eventually hiring them. And then the curriculum that we use for the paraprofessional, not paraprofessional, personal caregiver comes from the Center for Excellence in Aging Services and Long-Term Care. And that is with the School of Nursing. So again, we're using a lot of curriculum that UT is already using. And what I forgot to add on here is our paraprofessional curriculum, which comes from Region 13 as well. So that is all of the teachers assistants that are getting certified within the state, they go through that same Region 13 training. So that is the same curriculum we're using to train our students. All right, so who can apply to be in E4? So the main qualifications for this program is that the student must be 18 years or older. A lot of that is because to live independently, and for our staff to provide the best support, 18 years and older is helpful. Students must have a high school diploma or GED. Students must want to learn how to live independently, have an interest in a career as someone who takes care of others, as a personal care attendant, as a child care provider, or a paraprofessional or teacher assistant in the classroom. Students must fill out that application online, which can be found on our website, and be willing to participate in the interview if selected. Students must be able to pay the tuition and the fees for the program, either by securing sponsorship by an agency, an organization, or by private pay. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here. So the way many students do get some sponsorship to come to E4Texas and pay those tuition costs is through the Texas Workforce Commission, formerly known as DARS. And they partner with us. So we have a contract with them. And the vocational rehabilitation counselors that you are assigned to already, or if you haven't, or if you don't have a VR counselor, you can look into signing up with them. But they have been our biggest advocates and helping families pay for that tuition. And we are also working on other ways to secure tuition, but for now, it's really, these are our two main options is one, to try to go through Texas Workforce Solutions with the vocational rehabilitation counselors, or to pay privately. So our current housing option, we really do love Dobie 2021. They have their own separate contract with TWC. And so we don't facilitate the leasing agreements with housing. It's a separate process that happens between you, the family, the student, and Adobe. So it's not included in our tuition fees, but it is something that TWC also looks into providing room and board services. So definitely ask your VR counselors about that too. Becky Bowser is magnificent, and she always helps us and our families really working closely with figuring out the best um, housing plan, the right layout, the communication with VR counselor. She's really familiar with that. This is her email. It's rbowser@trinity-pm.com. And that is the number to their office, 512-505-1000. And if you are planning to visit Austin, or if you do live in Austin, I would recommend going to Adobe and asking for a tour. You might want to call ahead and just let them know that you're with E4 and you're just checking out the building and the rooms, and they will definitely hook you up and provide a great tour. These are some images of the housing of Adobe 2021. You can see here they have like a little computer room, which we've utilized in the past to have homework sessions or to hop on the computer to complete an assignment, use a whiteboard to take notes and have discussions. This is what it looks like from the outside. So Adobe is this high rise in the back there. And there is a food hall. If you go through these doors here, there's like a whole courtyard of food, and it varies. There's Indian food, there's um, Italian food, there's all sorts of great options there. So that's a great food option to have in addition to Adobe, which provides food as part of their tuition. And then right below is a marketplace where there's a few clothing boutique stores and also Target. So that has been very convenient for students as well. Adobe also has this awesome game room. You can see this is us at our open house last year. So this is our first virtual open house. So thank you for being patient and resilient with us as we try to navigate this virtual open house situation. But you can see we had a great group of folks coming in last year to hear about E4, and we utilized that game room again a lot. It has great seating. It's a nice open space with a lot of lighting, and we can use this TV to set up any PowerPoints we might have for a more relaxed environment. For example, last year, one of our great students was able to lead like a peer support discussion group in this game room. And so it's just a really nice space for everyone at Adobe to be able to hang out. And this is an example of one of the layouts at Adobe. So you can see they provide the desk space and the bed, I believe the mattress as well. There's a little microwave there in the back and some cabinets. This is only an image of half the room. And then of course, all the layouts are a little bit different, but because it's a high rise, students have great views of Austin and downtown. It's very cool. Here's that other half of the game room. So like what we saw earlier was over here. This is the other half. You can see there's a foosball table. There's some ping pong tables in the back. There's some like arcade-like games here. It's just a great space. There is a gym also connected at Adobe, so there's great exercising opportunities. And then here's like a more aerial view of Adobe. So this is the entrance to Adobe with the high rise. There's this great lawn space, which has been extra helpful during these COVID times to meet and have events in a safer outdoor space. And then you can also see that there's this Target, which also has a Starbucks in there, highly convenient for some students as well. So that is a little bit about Adobe. Again, I encourage you all to take a tour if you're thinking about coming to E4. It's a great space for students, and we've had a lot of great success and students meeting other students at UT and from around the world. It's a really great space to be. So other than students, we have an awesome group of people working with our students. We have E4 staff that act as job coaches when students are in their internship sites. We have social work interns from the Steve Hicks School of Social Work, teaching and mentoring and doing um, one-on-one check-ins with students. We have teaching assistants in the classroom. We have peer mentors, like I mentioned, in the classrooms when they're auditing classes. And we have tons of volunteers that are always open to hanging out with students and meeting with them and checking in and providing homework assistance and all the great things. This was from 2018 when our peer mentors were out and about in the city to, after class, go into the graffiti wall and hanging out at, forget the name of this park, but a great spot in downtown and taking the bus, going places, really getting a feel for Austin and what it has to offer. I remember students going to Blues on the Green, and a lot of students go to, oh, what's that name of that um, religious group on campus? I'm sure it'll come up here earlier, but as I mentioned, we have support that happens even after classes are done. So most of our classes end at 4 o'clock. So from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, there's mentors available at Adobe and right now also virtually to just hang out, talk about stuff, make sure we're all caught up on our work, to provide assistance with any assignments or quizzes that might still be going on. So that is some more stuff. And here's some more events going on. The Pecan Fall Festival, watching Deadpool at the Texas Union. Of course, these are things that might not be happening as much right now, but we're hoping soon, at least the next group of students can experience more of these festivals and just being involved with going to the movies and a little bit of that normalcy soon, I'm sure. So why should you guys be a part of E4? Well, there's a lot. Just to be able to be independent, learning to navigate the bus system, like I mentioned before, even possibly learning how to drive. A lot of our students took that St. David's adaptive driving classes just to get a better feel of what it's like to drive, to feel more confident on the road, decide whether or not this might be a good time to learn those skills. A lot of our students practice public speaking skills because we're a lot of times um, doing these kind of group projects or individualized projects where they are speaking. And in the past, a few of our students were asked to speak at other classes because of their knowledge on disability history advocates or just the lived experience they've had throughout their lives. So yes, definitely there's going to be some public speaking opportunities and ways to engage in other classes at UT. And of course, a lot of our students have made lifelong friendships through being at UT. Just our cohorts are so like dynamic because we do all live at Adobe. We do meet together as groups when we're studying those paraprofessional curriculums, childcare and personal care attendant curriculum. So we all develop a really close knit friendship and lean on each other a lot for help. Especially this year, we've just seen such great camaraderie when it comes to helping our friends make sure that they're safe, make sure they're logging into class on time, making sure they have water and food during that storm. So you just see like a great sense of friendship and, like I was saying, camaraderie, definitely. There's some more great pictures of outings. Come be part of our E4 family. Um, so I mentioned the application process. So it's all online. It's on our website. I'll have the link for the website up here soon. But all it takes to apply is completing that application. It has an essay and resume component. And there are 2 references that we are asking to complete a short survey. I have a link of that survey. So if you would like to email me to get access to that survey and send it out to your references, I will give that to you. My email is also at the end of this slideshow. And right now, our deadline, our applications are open. The deadline, I'm going to push this back. I'm sorry, I should have changed that. It should be March 15th, 2021. Initially, it was March 1st, but I also want to consider the fact that the storm might have pushed things out and delayed some people's project and timeline. So I'm going to go ahead and push that to March 15th, 2021. And the application packet must be completed with that $50 application fee. There are two ways to pay that fee. One is online, and the link is there when you're doing the application to pay online. And the other way is through check. And the address of where to send that check is all on the application form as well. So right now, the best thing we can do for you to do, for families to do, is really start participating in volunteer opportunities that are safe, even working in some part-time jobs. Start practicing those independent living skills, because when you are on campus, you're going to be doing your own laundry. You're going to be getting yourself up in the morning. You're going to be, managing a calendar. You might be making some small meals. So just start practicing some of that stuff. If there's any teachers or TWC counselors on the call right now, we are really encouraging students to join school clubs and organizations, start networking. We're encouraging teachers to practice giving assignments and quizzes with deadline, because we do have that in our program. Of course, we have tons of support for students while they're taking those quizzes and assignments, and we're not expecting students to be able to do everything completely independently from the beginning. There's also a variety of ways we give assignments. It might be that you type it on Canvas. There might be a paper version. There's a way to provide answers orally through media files. So we are flexible in how we accept those assignments too. So don't let that scare you away at all. So I mentioned we have tons of community partners with E4Texas, and these are just a few. And of course, our relationships with them have changed throughout the year because of what we can do with COVID. But we have great partnerships with places like Easter Seals, Outreach Home Care, Age of Central Texas, which is a memory care facility, Meals on Wheels Central Texas, which also has an in-home care component. So in addition to providing meals, they also have in-home care, where we have our students that are on that personal care attendant track. They definitely work with Meals on Wheels to find a individual that might need extra support in the classroom, or sorry, not extra support in the classroom, extra support in their homes. So, and same similarly with Outreach Home Care. ADAPT is a great advocacy organization, which a lot of our students start becoming more a part of and interact with. ARC of the Capital Area is another place for students to go and volunteer and help other individuals complete tasks like different art projects. Texas Advocates is a great organization that we work with. Imagine Art, Art Spark, which is now called VSA. And we work closely with the College of Education as well. We also work closely with Cap Metro. There's an organization called Joshua Stage, which is an organization with little children that are working to work in the performing arts. So we have students that help students with that. And the Camacho Activity Center is another place students have participated in, and that's part of Austin Parks and Rec. We have T4T, Training for Transformation, which is a peer support group that also we work closely with the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. They send us some interns to work with our students, and we send them interns to work with their students. It's a great symbiotic relationship. We work with the Child Development Center, like I was saying. We have students interning there, and also we're using their curriculum to help prepare our students for working in a center like the Child Development Center at UT. And then, of course, like I was mentioning, we're using curriculum from the Center for Excellence in Aging Services and Long-Term Care with the School of Nursing for that personal care attendant track. And we are working with the Institute for Person-Centered Practices to get that training for our students. That is just a few of our community organizations. I think I'm near the end here. So this is our website. It is www.disabilitystudies.utexas.backslash E4Texas. And that is where you can find the application, more information about E4. There might be another video on there, a link to our virtual ceremony that we had in May of last year. And you can also reach out to me for any specific questions you might have. This is my email address, jigna.patel@utexas.edu, if you have any questions. Whew, I went a little longer than I thought, but let's go ahead and take that break. We can get together here at 6:50 if you do have any questions. I'm sorry, I might have taken up more of your time. So if you don't have any questions, feel free to hop off. Feel free to email me. But if you do have some questions, I am going to take a quick restroom break and then I will look at those questions and address them here at 6:50. Thank you all for bearing with me. All right, so I am back and I see some of you talked in chat. That's great. Thank you for being here, Dolores, Zalia, Randall, Billy. Great to hear from you all. Yes, Longhorn for Christ. Thank you. Thank you, Randall, for that reminder. Longhorn for Christ is one that we had a lot of students participate in. It's a great organization. A lot of cool outings and like spring break trips. So yes. I don't see any questions in the chat box. Does anyone have any questions or topics they want to hear more about? Anything that I can help with? I'll just give a couple more minutes for folks to ask questions. I can also unmute anyone that might want to just ask their questions orally. Any possibility of students in your program being able to obtain a UTID? Yes, definitely. All of our students have a UTID, and what that UTID allows for is the ability to check out books at the library, to use the bus system for free. Um, Trying to think what else that UTID is important for. I mean, I think it's just great to have that identification that yes, you are part of UT. And oh, Bevo Bucks. I haven't looked into that. Jordan, do you know anything about Bevo Bucks at all? And let me see if I need to.
I don't know much, but I do believe that you can load Bevo Bucks onto your ID.
Great.
I'll look into that though, because I'm not 100% sure how that works.
Yes, and I apologize. So Jordan is one of our E4 staff members that's been with us for so long. So she's here to help me answer some questions. And we also have Anand Iyer, who is a former E4 graduate, but also an E4 staff now as a TA in the classroom. So they're here as well. If you have questions that they might be better able to answer, feel free to ask them. Yes, you just load money onto your ID and you can use it to buy food stuff. Yeah, I bet that makes sense. Yeah, there's tons of little grocery type convenience store things on campus, and there's a Wendy's and there's Chick-fil-A and there's Starbucks. Like yeah, Jester has tons of food options. So yep, that makes sense. I bet that is an option. I just we haven't had students utilize that as much. Not that I know of. Yeah, but that's a great way to like practice debit skills as a transition step to a credit card. But what I didn't mention during the program is that we also have an extensive budgeting class where we talk about safe ways to use a debit and credit card, how to budget money and finances. So yes, great point, great question. I'm going to just share my screen again with that PowerPoint because it provides closed captioning. There we go. Yes, Jordan says, yes, all E4 students obtain a UTID. Most students have a meal plan at Adobe, right? So they don't use Bevo Bucks, right? However, it is a possibility. That is true. So many students utilize Adobe because they provide 3 meals for the day included in the cost of room and board. So many students just utilize that. The way Adobe is working with the pandemic to make sure that it's safe in their food hall is by allowing students to just come into the cafeteria and pick up the food items that they want, and then they take that food back into their room or sit outside. But the seating area, from what I know right now, is closed. So another question we have from Billy is, so can any of your students use their ID to work out at Greg Gym? That's a great question. We do have students utilize the Gregory Gym on campus, but I think many students utilize the gym that's at Adobe. But yes, we are working with Greg Gym to make sure students can access it. And we even have a volunteer this year. Actually, she's staff now. Her name's Hannah, and she is preparing to go to occupational therapy school. And one thing she's planning to do with students is to go together as a group to Greg Gym and practice some yoga skills or some light stretching and exercises. Yep, Toby's great too. Great questions. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions, I'm just going to be here until 7 if anyone thinks of anything. I'm on standby. Um, until then, Anand, Jordan, do you think there's anything I missed in that PowerPoint presentation that might be good to talk about?
I don't believe so. Anand, do you have anything?
She covered the matter.
It was, it was pretty thorough, right? Um, hmm. I will say that a lot of our classes that are on campus have been within 5 minutes walking distance from Dobie. So we have great classroom spaces online where students meet, where there's still that opportunity to navigate campus, but it's not so far that if a student has any physical disabilities that it would be hard to get to. So that is something to consider. Trying to think of other things. We do take data on students every day on how they're doing, and we share student grades with students and their TWC counselors to let them know how things are going and if we need any extra support in the classroom or if to really just brag about students, things like that. Um, what else? What else can I tell you all that would be helpful? We are continuing to build more relationship with faculty on campus. Our hope is that students can take classes with faculty throughout all departments at UT. It can be from like the Butler School of Music all the way to computer sciences. Our ultimate goal is to be as integrated to the UT campus as possible. So we are looking to just really embed E4 students on campus, and that includes things like going to Gregory Gym and being involved in clubs and organizations and having access to financial aid. That's a big goal of ours. So just know that we're continuing to work on that. And every year we're making new headway to breaking down those barriers and making sure students are included. It's a continuing fight. And we always tell students when they join us that they're paving the way. And every year it's getting even better for the next round of students. So everyone that joins E4 is like part of history at the University of Texas at Austin. And we remind them of that. And that helps us all be like our best self when we are on campus. All right, well, it's 7. Well, it's almost 7. If you all don't have any other questions or if there's no other information I could provide to you, feel free to hop off. Otherwise, I'm hanging out here for 2 more minutes. I'm gonna hit the stop recording button. Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see you guys too. I mean, in this virtual world. No problem, Andy. Thank you all for being here.